Life's Abuse. Where do I begin? This label from the 90s and 2000s featured many awesome releases by a bunch of great punk and doom metal bands. Brain Oil, Dystopia, Blatz, Grief, and even the Melvins were all represented here at some point. It was run by Mouse Perillo, who was a musician in many of these bands, and isn't that a great approach to doing things? Releasing your own art and being passionate and proud about it. We're going to be reviewing the entire catalog! Most of which I physically own on vinyl and CD. The only two that I don't own will be reviewed via online sources, because they're so rare and expensive that the only practical way of hearing them would be to listen to them online. Now this is an unofficial release, but it's important to talk about it nonetheless. After all, it was technically released by Life's Abuse as a demo, however, it's really rare and really expensive. But I found some MP3s. Yeah, this is the Carcinogen Cure demo. Imagine Dystopia with more of a touch of death metal. Oh my god, it's really catchy. It's 27 minutes long, but it's really friggin' good. It's heavy, it's catchy, it's gritty, and it's a shame that this thing was never re-released as a 7-inch. Another demo worth talking about is the Mindrot demo. Also not an official release, but it's really friggin' cool. It's similar to the Carcinogen demo. Before there was Mindrot's major studio releases with Relapse and other labels, there was this demo. It featured Miles from Dystopia on guitar. It has all the same qualities as the Carcinogen demo, only it's more of a doom metal album than anything else. The official first catalog released by Life's Abuse is the Dystopia and Grief split. This came with a razor blade, which some stores had to take out to avoid any potential lawsuits. Not gonna help if you're gonna listen to this album. Anyway, really awesome stuff right here between Dystopia's great mix of sludge, crust, and doom, and Grief being the slowest band on the earth. I'd say that you have a massive depression and awesome fest. Life's Abuse number 2, Dystopia, Human Equals Garbage. This album and this band has reached a lot of people over the years, and it's a gem to those who treasure them. This album, along with constant touring, has won the respect of fans abroad. It's 5 tracks if you own the original vinyl, but if you own the CD, that contains splits between Embittered, Grief, and an unreleased track, making it 12 songs. Fantastic mix of different kinds of punk and metal, with samples throughout some of the songs to help carry them in an unconventional way. Life's Abuse number 3, Sea Diablo. A hardcore and thrash ride with plenty of melodic moments. It's got some fast and heavy speeds, but it isn't ashamed to slow it down a bit. It's a great mix of different styles of metal and punk from the 80s and the 90s. The vocals are nice and structured in the right places, and the songwriting has obviously had some time spent on it. Oftentimes it sounds reminiscent, sort of like At the Gates will at times. But also the production is very rich and deep, sort of like Nausea's Cyber God. It's important to notice the incredible artwork. Not something you would expect from a band like this, right? Life's Abuse number 4, the Dystopia and Skaven split. More technical songwriting and zest from the Dystopia side. And Skaven, oh man, they're so great. Before their discography CD, this is the most you can get from Skaven on one release. Skaven was great stenchcore who were influenced by bands like Reeboks and other classic crust bands from the 80s and 90s. I personally find his vocal style very interesting. Life's Abuse number 4.5. 4.5? That sounds like a threat. Okay, you got 5 seconds to give me the Dystopia Backstabber EP or else. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4.5? Don't push my patience. This is the Dystopia and Suffering Luna split. The Aftermath's version of the Dystopia song would feature a sample from The Breakfast Club. Some fans prefer this version without the sample because without the sample, it highlights the heaviness and the rumbling and the thundering of Todd's bass solo at the end. Oh my god, it's a disturbing song any way you look at it, but as far as Suffering Luna, they're experimental power violence on drugs. That is the best way I can describe them to you without making you listen to the song itself. It's a great, fantastic, and experimental trip worth taking if you're into the weird and unconventional side of this music. Life's Abuse number 5, Dystopia's Backstabber EP. It's a really popular release. It exposes the government, it exposes the harshness of working environments, and it exposes the evil of backstabbing so-called friends, hence the title, Backstabber. Anytime you think of a friend of yours that has done you wrong, think of this album. Life's Abuse number 6, Fields of Shit. It's a shame that these guys broke up shortly after releasing this because it would have been awesome to hear more stuff from them. Would have been awesome to see them live. Anyway, I really love the artwork, I really love the back artwork, I love the poster, I love the inserts. This is hardcore punk in the vein of Filth. It tackles a lot of issues in one package. It's angry, it's raw, it's filthy. Ugh. Life's Abuse number 7, Lost Goat, Trapped on Earth. It's really heavy garage rock, and it reminds me a lot of Queens of the Stone Age. Their sound is fuzzy and powerful. Sounds like a band that you would go to a club and see, and then you would leave and be like, they were pretty good. The dude sounds a little bit like Scott Weiland, but there are some good dueling male and female vocals as well. The drumming and guitar riffs are well done, and as a result, this album is really catchy. Life's Abuse number 8, Artimus Pyle, thrashy acid punk. Not much to say about this one except that it's slow, rumbly, and thrashy. There's some heavy guitars, there's some hard-hitting drums. Side 2 is the better half because Smash the State is on that one. Life's Abuse number 9, Dystopia the Aftermath. If you have the CD version, it's 13 songs featuring all 4 songs from this EP, the Backstabber EP, and the material from the splits between Skaven and Suffering Luna. This features more technical songwriting and better production from the band. Still depressing, still heavy, and full of despair. Life's Abuse number 10, Melvins Live at Slim's, an 8-track tape. Coming from somebody who isn't a huge Melvins fan, the show is full of feedback and lots of thick guitar sounds. Terrible recording quality, but maybe that adds to the harshness of the whole album. It's a good show with plenty of sludge metal madness. These 8-track tapes were bootlegged from the used 8-track tapes, meaning that they have different time frames. So depending on which tape you get, you can either get the 60-minute version or the 70-minute version. So sometimes songs will be there and sometimes they won't. Only 100 of these were made, but it makes me wonder, who was able to play an 8-track tape in 2000? So the only practical way of listening to this album is on the internet. Life's Abuse number 11, Tarantula Hawk's self-titled album. The first self-titled album. There are 2 of them. The only way you can differentiate them is the artworks. This one's orange, so I call it the Orange Album. It's really good progressive rock with a good spacey atmosphere. It's entirely instrumental, but it stays busy all the time. Instead of lyrical rock, it's more like a full band taking an eerie journey through the desert at night. Life's Abuse number 12, the Asunder / Like Flies on Flesh split. Asunder's side is doom metal, but with a touch of death metal as well, so there are no cellos or violins that they would later become known for. Asunder does some blast beats and some fast sections on this. On the CD version, there's a piano outro by Dino Semes, who plays drums. The Like Flies on Flesh side is doom and death metal as well, but with female vocals reminiscent of Dimlea's album. Really pretty music at certain times. Musically, they're more busy than Asunder because every instrument's just going at full blast. So this album will satisfy those that want to relax and those that want to headbang. Life's Abuse number 13, Medication Time, 1 free miracle ticket! If you'll notice, Mouse' vocals sound awfully similar to what they did on The Aftermath. It was recorded in a short amount of time as the band was short-lived. It sounds like a doomier version of The Aftermath because the production is so similar. Other times it sounds like His Hero's Gone with the crust passages. For a band like this, they're not afraid to use the occasional guitar effects, but there are still moments of grind and punk interspersed between the madness. There's a song on here called Blasphemy's Child, and it sounds like something Code 13 or Destroy would come up with. I love it, it's so catchy. At the end of the album, you have a 30-minute interview with St. Paul describing his experiences at a Grateful Dead concert. This does not appear on the vinyl. Life's Abuse number 14, Nigel Pepper, Fresh White Reeboks, Kickin' Your Ass. Oh yeah, this is a really good album, but it's also extremely rare. Given that you had to be 18 or over to buy it just because of its artwork, and the fact that not a lot of copies were pressed, it's really difficult to find. The only practical way you have of hearing it now is by going on YouTube or going online to find it. It has really terrible production, but good God, the music is so good. It's raw, it's angry hardcore punk, and it doesn't have any of the keyboards that would accompany their full-length album The New Way. This album has been on a lot of lists for the worst album artworks of all time, so in that respect it's gained a lot of infamy. However, it should also be known for being brilliant and over-the-top and awesome. The only downside is that half the EP is covers instead of original Nigel songs. Life's Abuse number 15, Yeti, Things to Come. It's a space album if I've ever heard one. You know Pink Floyd has that tagline, the first men in space? Well, these are the first guys that have ever lived on Mars. 4 instrumental songs with progressive rock, jazz, and avant-garde sounds with all kinds of synths and organs to accompany. Every instrument is separated properly so you can hear everything nice and clear, even the bass, which plays a big role in the music. Symphonic and dreamlike all at once. It comes with a poster. Life is Abuse number 16, Blatz, Cheaper Than the Beer. It's a simple 7-inch that's been released on several different labels, and it's easy to hear why. 5 short songs, terrible but raw production, and the band is just having a lot of fun. Some male and female vocals. Even if it's technically bad by artist standards, you can definitely tell that the band is putting their heart and soul into the whole thing. There are even some occasional guitar effects to enhance the grunginess of the whole result. Life's Abuse number 17, Filth, Live the Chaos. A blast of energy 100% of the way through. Right from the start, you get the scream, and then the band comes in full form. It has 4 tracks of rage, hardness, and anger. It makes no apologies. It's nasty and abrasive. It's fun to listen to this stuff, even if a lot of things are getting broken in the process. Life's Abuse number 18, Blatz and Filth, The Shit Split. The Blatz side is heavier, catchier, and more memorable than the stuff from their 7-inch. Every song is an anthem. My favorite might be Cockroach Cafe. As far as the Filth side, oh man, it's the same Filth with more technical songwriting and much better production. There's one song where they borrow lyrics from the Blatz side. I love when bands are so close that they can do that. If more people knew that real punk was like this instead of any of the whiny bands on the Warped Tour, I think people would be more careful defining genres of types of music that they listen to. Life's Abuse number 19, Total Shutdown, Broadcast Performances. It's a mix between ska and power violence. It's a short 45 RPM. It doesn't sound rehearsed at first listen, and you'll think, wow, was this 100% improvised? But if you notice and listen close enough, the songs do have some structure to them. Between the random horns and clavinets, there are amounts of hard-hitting drums and maniacal vocals, with one song about battling witches in a forest. Yay! Life is Abuse number 20, Scrawl, Too Short to Ignore, their Skography album. They're ska-core with plenty of growls and distorted guitars. All the necessary grindcore elements are there with plenty of horns and keyboards. The musicianship is likable, and it's easy to see why people would mosh to this. The songs are structured a lot better than on Total Shutdown's EP, and their style is pretty interesting, especially considering that they covered a Terrorizer song, of all things. They were getting ready to release this album as they were getting ready to call it quits. Most likely. Life is Abuse number 21, Nigel Peppercock, The New Way. This one you had to be 18 or over to buy. It's so over the top and such a ridiculous artwork, but this is a good album. The music and lyrics weren't sexualized like I expected them to be. It's basically hardcore punk with synthesizers. Just like most of the other post-2000 Life's Abuse releases, the production slays! The drums are clear and punchy, and the rest of the band sounds raw and angry. I love the locking groove on side 1, and I love the crass parody on the final song. I'd love to show you the insert, but I might get arrested.
Don't change the channel. Part 2 is on the way, and it will conclude the journey of this label and all the quality performances it has given us throughout the years.